Hey friends, and welcome to today's class. For today, there are no props required, just you and your space to practice. So whenever you have your mat and your space, let's go ahead and meet in Tadasana at the top of the mat. And so as always, no matter where we're coming to into our space, always take a few moments to check in with yourself, check in with your mind, your body, the energy around you. Just give yourself a few moments to arrive, both into your space, into your mind, into your body. Tuning into your breath. And also being intentional about that connection between your body and the earth. Flaring the toes and then gripping them down onto your mat. Rolling onto the outer blades and then grounding down through that big toe. Maybe shifting your weight into the toes, lifting the heels, whatever you need to do to explore every corner of your feet and then officially settle into your space. Hands can rest on chest and belly, arms can rest alongside your body, whichever you prefer. Whatever allows you to feel connected and with the ability to arrive into your space. This class, we're going to be working primarily into the hips, working on exploring various poses that incorporate hinging at the hips and really getting to know what that sensation feels like in a variety of postures as you flow through today's class. So on your next inhale, draw the fingertips down toward the earth and make a big circle around yourself as you reach those fingertips up toward the sky. And just finding a nice, easy side body opening. You're going to reach those fingertips up toward the sky. Grab hold of that left wrist and go ahead and draw the left wrist over toward the right side of the room. Tuck that left foot behind the right. Open that right side body. Keeping that tailbone tucked underneath you, really finding some nice space between the crest of the left hip all the way through the rib cage, the armpit. Inhale back through center, reach tall. On the exhale, grab hold of that right wrist, bow over toward the left side, opening to the right. Keeping that tailbone tucked underneath you to really lengthen all the way through the low back, the side waist, the rib cage. And then inhale back through center, reach tall. Then exhale, hands come through heart center. Going to start working through the hips now. Inhale, arms up through around into the sky. And then hands are going to come through heart center. Start to soften the knees, bend into the hips and find a nice forward fold, just draping over the lower body as you find your hands to the mat. And just feel heavy to start. Bending the knees enough to rest your belly onto your thighs. Just a subtle lift of the hip points or the hip bones up toward the sky as the head falls heavy. Just starting to create length and space within the back line of the body, both along the spine and the back line of the legs. And on your next inhale, we're going to find a halfway lift. So you can keep that connection, fingertips to the earth, or you can bring your hands toward your shins. Sometimes it's nice to have your hands on your hips to help draw the hip creases back. And as the hips reach back, the knees straighten, your chest and heart reaches toward the top edge of the mat. Finding a nice long spine here. And then exhale, find your fold. Sink low. Maybe the knees are a little bit straighter. Still finding heaviness within the chest as it's drawn down toward the earth. Inhale, find your halfway lift, straighten through the legs. Use that connection to your body to help lengthen the spine, engaging through the back body as you reach those sit bones back behind you, back in space. Trying to create that number 7, lifted in the low belly, trying to create as much space between your belly and the thighs as you can. And then exhale, find that fold. Sink down, let everything relax into this space. And then inhale, find that halfway lift once more, straighten the legs. Use that connection, hands to the lower body to pull the chest and heart forward. That sit bones reach back in space, nice long spine, energetic within the back body, lifted through the low belly. And exhale, find your fold. Just hanging heavy in your fold here. Feeling a little bit longer within the back line of the legs. And then go ahead and plant the hands. You're going to take a step of the left foot back toward the center of the mat. And then you're going to roll over the back toes, drop the back knee down. Okay, so that hip should be over top the back knee, and then the hands are going to come inside the right foot. So you might need to wiggle that right foot out just a pinch. Untuck those back toes, top of the foot is down. And then using your fingertips, we're going to take a few cat-cows here. It's going to feel a little bit funky. We're going to try to create some space within the hips here. If you need to adjust your stance within that front foot, feel free. But we're really trying to snuggle in toward the inside of that right thigh. So on your next inhale, it's going to be a lift of the tailbone back in space, really pulling that right hip back as you pull the chest and heart forward. So the motion within your spine is going to be quite limited compared to your normal cat-cow. And then exhale, you're going to round, trying to keep the lower body as stationary as able, still moving strictly through the spine and the hips. Inhale, find that cat pose, really drawing that right hip back in space as you snuggle that right rib cage inside the right thigh. Chest lifts, gaze lifts. Exhale, round. Really tucking through the tailbone, lengthen through the low back. Inhale, lift. Reach that tailbone back behind you. Make that be the biggest motion you get out of this space. And then exhale, round. One more round, inhale. Pull that right hip back in space. Exhale, round. Inhale, come back to that neutral spine. Go ahead and bring in the right knee to meet the left, and let's go ahead and switch sides. You can always come onto blocks if that's more comfortable, or obviously palms down toward the earth. But that left foot is going to come outside the left hand. Top of the back foot is down onto the mat, coming onto fingertips, blocks, whichever allows for creating space within the body. And so, finding a nice neutral spine to start, trying to snuggle that rib cage inside that left leg before we even go anywhere into this space. But on the next inhale, you're going to lift that tailbone back behind you. Feel the lengthening within the back of that left hip as you draw the chest and heart forward, gaze lifts. Exhale, find a nice rounding of the spine, release. Tuck that tailbone underneath you. Inhale, lift the tailbone back behind you. Pull that chest and heart forward. Gaze lifts. Really drawing that left hip crease back. Trying to create as much space for yourself as you can to really nestle that rib cage in. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. And then inhale, come back to center. Go ahead and bring the left knee back to meet the right. Plant the hands, tuck the toes, lift those hips up and back, downward facing dog. And in this space, feel free to give your normal Shimmy and shakes, goodness, combining words before they come out of my mouth. But yeah, just find your normal movements that you need. And then go ahead and settle into your downward facing dog. And of course, with the theme of today's class, we're going to be focusing on that hinge of the hips, pulling that energy from the palms all the way through the shoulders. We're finding a nice lift all the way along the spine. We're trying to focus on that hinging of the hips. So can you reach those sit bones up toward the sky? Can you draw the points of the hips toward the thighs, but still leaving enough space for one another? So we're not fully compressing one toward the other. We're just trying to imagine that connection from opposing sides to find a nice lift of the hips up and back in space. Drawing the heels down toward the earth. Lifting even higher through the hips here. Inhale, that right leg lifts high and back behind you. On the exhale, drive that right knee to right elbow, planting the right foot outside the right hand. Maybe wiggle it slightly closer, just replacing that right hand. So we're framing the right foot. On the inhale, come up, crescent lunge. Find that lift. Maybe even lift up with that reach of the fingertips. And then on the exhale, settle down into your space. And just take a moment here. You can keep the arms up toward the sky. You don't have to. Again, we're focusing on the lower body today. So whatever makes you feel good here in this moment, please feel free to go there. But really sinking into the lower body, feeling the heaviness within the hips as they drop between the thighs. Still trying to keep an upward lift of the pelvis. So reaching or lifting up through those hip points to lift through the low belly. And then sink even deeper into your space. So focusing on the lower body, and then maybe incorporating that upper body as we reach the fingertips toward the sky. Inhale, reach up nice and tall. And then on the exhale, you're going to transition forward. So we're going to tilt the torso forward, finding that hinge of the hips as the arms sweep down and back behind you, airplane arms. As you airplane the arms and tilt the chest over that front knee, you're still pulling that right hip point back and pulling and letting that left hip drop forward. So you're squaring off at the hips, still trying to find a lift within the torso to create space between yourself. Like you're drawing that right hip back, that right hip crease back so that you can create space for yourself to be here. And then inhale up. Again, the arms can kind of help you sweep forward and back through this motion if you'd like. Otherwise, you don't need to. So recommit to that front knee. Inhale tall. Exhale, find that hinge. Reach the chest and heart forward. Reach those fingertips back. Stay long within the spine. Pulling that right hip back in space. Left hip comes down and forward. Inhale, lift. Try to keep that correction you made for yourself. Inhale high. Exhale, hinge. One more time, inhale. Strong in those legs. I know they're working hard for you. Exhale, fold. As you lift up, inhale. You're going to shift forward, come into that right foot. Left foot meets the right. Inhale, find a tall spine. Come out of that right leg. And then exhale, sit the hips low, come into chair pose. Sitting into those hips here. Drawing the knees over the toes, trying to get into the depth of the ankles, and then sit the hips further back into space. Sit nice and low. Drawing those hips back and growing the spine from the pelvis. So staying nice and long in this space. Exhale, find your fold. Come out of the lower body for a moment. And feel free to bring the feet a little bit wider. Grab hold of opposite elbows and just sway. Finding a little bit of softness while trying to maintain the space that you're working through. And then go ahead and plant the hands down toward the earth. Go ahead and step the feet back, finding your way back into downward facing dog. Reintegrating into your shape here. So again, strength through the upper body, length through the spine, lift through the hips, and then draw those heels down toward the earth. Feeling every part of your body participating here in this moment. On your next inhale, left leg lifts up toward the sky. Pause here. Exhale, drive that left knee forward. Left foot comes outside the left hand. Plant it nice and easy. And then go ahead, maybe wiggle that foot inward just a pinch to replace that left hand. So now our hands are squaring off that left foot. Keeping the back leg lifted, press up and into crescent lunge. And you can keep your hands dropped for right now. We'll incorporate them in just a moment, just trying to integrate with our shape here to start. Really settling the hips between the thighs, letting that back heel fall heavy, trying to commit to that front knee, and just settle in here. Once you feel like you've found a good space to hang out, to be, trying to lift through the pelvis, lifting those hip points up and forward toward the top of your mat. And then that might mean a slight bend in the back knee. That's okay. Let that happen. Let that be there to support you here in this space. And then on your next inhale, arms up, come up overhead, nice and tall. Deep inhale, find that reach. On the exhale, find your hinge. Pressing through the back toes. Bringing the torso forward. Keep drawing that left hip crease back in space. Maybe a slight drop of the right hip. Square things off, trying to keep that knee in line with the hip. So it's just a small little swivel in your space here. Inhale, lift up. Still strong within the lower body, still staying lifted within the spine. Exhale, find your fold. Arms reach back alongside your body. Using that reach of the upper body to help keep a little bit more energy in the torso. A nice lift. Keep that space between belly and thigh. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, fold forward. One more round. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, fold forward. Keep that chest lifted, reaching through the fingertips. Hold your space here. Inhale, lift up into that crescent lunge. And then you're going to shift your weight forward into that left foot. Right foot meets the left. Come out of it for just a second on that inhale. And then exhale, sinking right back into your chair pose. I know your legs are working hard here. Sink the hips down. Maybe drop the knees forward a little bit further beyond the toes to get into those ankles just a little bit more. And then sit those hips back in space. Really reaching those sit bones left and right as equally as you can back into that invisible chair back behind you. Reach those arms up overhead. Lifted through the low belly, but still finding that invisible connection, hip points to thighs. Draw that tailbone down, just a pinch. Spine nice and long. Exhale, find your fold, come out of it, let those legs relax. Wiggle those feet nice and wide. Grab opposite elbows. And ragdoll. Find a nice gentle sway left to right. Feeling a nice soft fold of the hips. Maybe those knees are bent enough to feel that connection, belly to thigh. Go ahead and plant the hands, step the feet back one at a time. Downward facing dog. Finding a nice lift of the tailbone up toward the sky, and then sink those hips low toward the floor. Strong through the upper body, lifted through the low belly. And then roll over the toes, drop the knees. Untuck the toes, sit hips to heels. And just take a moment here for yourself. Just feeling the sensations, the heat, the space that you created within the lower body in just those few movements. And we're just going to find a little bit of symmetry here in this space. So we're ready to come up into a tall kneeling position. And as we come here, just find the position, naturally come into it on your own without really much thought. And then what I want you to do is lift those hip points up in front of you and squeeze the glutes, draw that tailbone down. So a lift of the low belly, a lift of the front hip points, a drawing down of the tailbone, a squeeze of the glutes. Hands can be on the hips here, just above the hip bones around the waist. So inhale, find a nice tall spine. And on the exhale, you're going to tilt the chest forward. You're going to hinge the hips back like they're reaching toward the heels. And exhale, press up. Lift and squeeze. Inhale, soften, let those hips come toward the heels. Exhale, lift and squeeze. 2 more rounds, inhale. Soften and hinge. Exhale, lift. Inhale, release. Exhale, squeeze. And then inhale, lower all the way down. Hips can come to heels, hips can come between the heels. Pausing here for another moment. And then go ahead and cross over the ankles. Bring your sit bones toward the earth. And then go ahead and find your way onto your back. As you come into this space, just let the feet rest down, knees bent. Back is nice and flat. And then go ahead and bring the right knee in toward the chest. Go ahead and hug it in toward that right armpit. Extend that left leg nice and long, reaching that heel toward the top of the mat. Again, snuggling that rib cage into the thigh. Find your breath. And then go ahead and draw that right knee over toward the left side of the room. Right arm into a capital T. Really drawing that right thigh across the body. Using that left hand to guide the thigh into this space, nice and easy. Allowing that twist to come through the belly. And keeping that anchor point of the right shoulder onto the mat. Two more deep breaths into the belly. Nice and slow, come on out. Go ahead and bring the right foot back down to the earth, and then the left knee comes in toward the chest. Go ahead and give it a squeeze. Left knee in toward the armpit. Really try to make that connection happen along the torso. And then extend the right leg out in front of you, reaching through that right heel. Just keeping the spine nice and long, but neutral. Deep breath. Intentionally filling up that space that's connected to the left thigh. And then go ahead and draw that left knee over toward the right. Keep that left shoulder anchored down. Use that right hand to really guide the thigh over toward the right side of the room. Finding that twist through the belly. Just releasing any tension. Just letting it feel good. Go ahead and come back through center. Left foot comes down, right foot comes to meet the left. And then go ahead and rock the knees in toward the chest. Grab hold of the outer blades of both feet. Happy baby. Drawing the tailbone down toward the top of the mat as the knees come in toward the armpits alongside the body. You can just rock here side to side. You can straighten one leg at a time. I always have a tendency to crack my toes when I'm in this position. I don't know why. I always do it every time. So if you have a weird habit, a weird little thing you got to do when you're in this position, go for it. No requirements other than trying to, again, explore that connection of the thigh, either in toward the torso, alongside the rib cage, whatever kind of depth you're able to explore today. It's just the theme of today's class, so continue to shed your greatest light into that space. And then go ahead and lower the feet down toward the earth. And then extend one leg out long, one at a time. We worked a lot into the hips, so feel free to roll the toes in and out, rotating those hips in and out. And then go ahead and bring the feet nice and wide alongside or beyond the edges of the mat. And then just go ahead and bring one hand to heart, one hand to the belly. 2 breaths together, deep inhale. Open the mouth, exhale. Seal the lips, deep inhale. Open the mouth, deep exhale. Continue to settle into your breath. Settle into your body. Giving yourself a few moments to explore the sensations that you created within your hips. You might feel a deeper sensation within this class just because of the connection and the closeness that comes with finding that hip hinge and being able to create that space and that depth in those particular postures. A class that is nice and short and sweet, but definitely gets the work in. So I hope y'all enjoyed today's class. Please like and comment any recommendations on future classes. I'd love to hear it. But again, I thank y'all for being here and practicing with me. I hope y'all enjoyed it, but I will see you again next time. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day.